and welcome to this week's episode of Not D&D, brought to you by EN World. Throughout September, we've been talking about science fiction tabletop role-playing games, and I don't think we can have a full conversation about that without mentioning Traveller. So I'm very lucky today. I have the team from Mongoose Publishing here to talk to us about it. Matthew, Chris, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thanks very much.
Of course. So how about we go through and introduce yourself and what you do at Mongoose Publishing and how you're involved with Traveller. So Chris, why don't we start with you?
Okay, I'm Mongoose's head writer, and I work on a number of projects, but Traveller is the main one that I've worked on. And but the things I support all of Mongoose's games with writing and editing.
Fantastic. And Matthew, how about yourself?
I'm the managing director of Mongoose Publishing. Been doing this for nearly quarter of a century. And what's my job? I kind of run the company, but also juggle around with everything that needs doing, fixing all the problems, and very occasionally I get to sit down and write a few things.
Fantastic. I mean, Matthew, like you said, you've had a really long industry in tabletop games, and a lot of people that are fan of games are looking to break in themselves. So as somebody that kind of, is the managing director, what sort of things do you look for in people that are, if somebody were to approach for a job or wanting to work in the industry, do you have any kind of tips or guidance on that?
Yeah, two things we always look for. Firstly, the passion. You got to want it, and you've got to be able to demonstrate that you want it. That's kind of like the difficult bit. But once you got that, all we're looking for after that is talent. Just that small thing.
Oh yeah, just that little thing there.
Talent and passion will get you a long way.
And Chris, obviously you say you're the head writer there. I know there's so many people writing in the RPG space and that would love to be, working for a company and doing that kind of more full time. How did you get started, and what did that journey look like for you to where you are now?
So with Mongoose, they had a program for people to contribute and called the TASK program. And I did some independently produced publications, and they did really well. So I reached out to Matt and I said, hey, I'd like to write for your actual line. And he gave me a bunch of projects, gave me a shot at it. Things went well, and I got bigger and bigger projects as time went on. And eventually we kind of talked about me coming and actually working at the office for an extended period of time, and I did that, and now we're going to make that permanent. So staying aboard on a long-term basis.
Yeah. And would you have any kind of advice for people that are writing in the space and, for how they can, kind of get involved and do that a bit more?
Sure. I hope I don't sound too stringent or anything, but, first of all, learn your craft, learn how to write. And that sounds like pretty vague, but there are style guides, there are resources out there, some basic resources. You need to be able to write to a style, be consistent throughout, because your work's going to be edited, and ultimately your work is going to reflect the quality of the company you're writing for. So the cleaner the copy you produce for them, the easier it is for them to like your work. After that, you need to be creative. You need to have influences, whether those be video games, movies, books. I think you need to be well-versed in other things, not just role-playing games, so that you can bring a broader perspective to your writing that will come out and surprise and delight the customers.
That's some great advice. I love that. And I think that leads us really nicely to talking about Traveller, because this is in my mind, the iconic science fiction role-playing game. Is the one people always talk about. And what you just mentioned about having a good breadth of media knowledge, I mean, Traveller really encompasses that, because for me, whenever I've gone to play a game of Traveller, it's allowed me to play different types of science fiction games that I can use, to explore the universe that I want in my games. So let's talk about Traveller. So Matthew, could you give us, if somebody's not heard of Traveller, could you give us a brief intro to what the game is?
That is a big question, but at its heart, Traveller is a science fiction role-playing game. It's written with the intention of being able to tell any any science fiction stories you like. So whether you want to have characters who are captains on the bridge of a starship, or head of a mercenary company, or deep space explorers, you can do all that. The kind of the default is independent traders on just the right side of the law most of the time, trying to scrape together their money for to keep their ship flying, to get their new bit of kit, not just doing the trading, doing the dodgy jobs as well. The easiest way to explain it is if you've seen Firefly, that's Traveller.
I mean, that's great. That's exactly what I did for my campaign. I was running Firefly, and I was like, well, we'll just use Traveller because that's perfect setting for it. But yeah, so also the game has a really long history. So I believe it was the late 70s when the game first appeared.
77.
On the scene.
Yeah. I think I'm right in saying it was 1 month before Star Wars came out.
Oh wow, so very much part of the culture of the time, looking at science fiction and exploring new worlds. Could you give us a brief history of like the game, because obviously it's with Mongoose now, and in 2022 had a new update, but I know there's been many different kind of versions and editions of the game between the 70s and now.
There has and there's always the risk I'm going to miss one out. For example, GURPS Traveller is a thing. There's been a Traveller edition for the Hero system, for the D20 system, but there is a line of we might say core Traveller from the classic edition, as it's called now, released in the late 70s. From then it moves on to Mega Traveller and Traveller New Era and T4 Traveller 4. And that's over the period of decades, not always with the same company. And finally, in, I want to say 2008, it was a while ago, I might be wrong in that, we got the license to do a new edition of Traveller from Mark Miller. And last year, we had a very long conversation with Mr. Miller, and ended up giving him some monies for it, and it's permanently moved over to us now.
I'm really excited to hear that, because when you mentioned I think it was like 2010 that I was playing my Traveller game, so I've always kind of known it to be with you in Mongoose in my experience with the game. So it's good to know that it's got a permanent home there. So today we will be talking about the current edition of Traveller that we have out, because you did an update in 2022. So Chris, could you talk us through the core rules as they are now in Traveller?
Yeah, so the core rules for Mongoose Traveller are not too far removed from Classic Traveller, the original 70s version of the game. It just adds a more complex task system and some additional vehicles, some additional mechanisms through which you can run your narrative that kind of enhance it. But it's designed to have the same elegance and simplicity as the original game, but perhaps with a few more answers to your questions, a few more mechanics to help you run your games than the original had. Fantastic.
And what sort of what was the design approach when doing the update in 2022? Was it just looking at the current system and having a decade's worth of almost live playtest experience to tweak things, or?
Basically, yes. It was. It's an evolution rather than a revolution. We weren't looking to rewrite things from scratch. The idea we've got, and this may be ill-fated, but we kind of got it in our head that maybe, just maybe, Traveller doesn't need a new edition ever, and we'll just incrementally improve, refine, keep polishing it. I don't know in the long term how likely that is, because you kind of get the ship of Theseus problems. If you keep changing things, then at what point does it by default become a new edition? But for the time being, at least, it means we can continue improving the core rules, but doing it in a way that doesn't invalidate everything that's come beforehand. So the adventural supplement you buy now will still be useful in when we do core rulebook update 2028 or the 2030, whenever it ends up being. That's the aim. We'll see how that goes. But no new additions, no edition wars, and everything that's currently out for Traveller will be usable in the future is the aim.
Perfect. Well, that's great news for people that have a lot of their books already and you know, have their collections. Yeah. So I am also thinking for people that are new to this, so maybe that they're new to role-playing games and they're new to exploring sci-fi games. So I want to talk about character creation a little bit in Traveller. So Chris, I don't know if you could talk us through, you know, what character creation looks like, what's involved, how long it takes, just to give us an idea of how that would feel as a player if you're new to the game.
Yeah, character creation can take a very short time if you want to work through it rapidly, but frankly, it's more fun if you kind of let it roll out because it's designed to be a collaborative experience. The group of people who intend to play in an adventure, a campaign together, sit down, they roll dice to see what their basic characteristics are, and then they proceed through a career, which has always been what Traveller was built on. One of the differences being that in the original Traveller, your character could die during character creation. That's one of its famous qualities. That's pretty much not possible with Mongoose Traveller. You can get hurt, but you survive. But you go through the experience of building your character over time, and it frequently goes off the rails. You might have an idea of that you wanted to create a brave ex-space Marine, but his career may not go the direction you expected, or you envisioned you have a high education and I'm going to have a scholar who goes and travels the stars and explore and examines and learns about alien species. Well, the dice may dictate otherwise, so you have to be prepared for real life to affect your Traveller, and then get ready to play with the character that comes out at the end. Sometimes it goes exactly as planned, sometimes it doesn't, but it's really different. It's not a hero or a zero to hero style game like some of the other games in the market. It's about what we like to say is it's about ordinary spacers taking on extraordinary circumstances, and the the Traveller generation system will produce an ordinary spacer for you, someone who has to brave the challenges with the tools they have.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. I mean, speaking of tools, one of the fun things about science fiction is all the toys we get to play with. We've got all the equipment and the spaceships and things like that. So I don't know, could you talk a little bit about the sort of things that are available in Traveller? So what sort of toys are we going to have to play with in our games?
So we've got a central supply catalog is our main gear book. Mm-hmm. And then sprinkled throughout the adventures, you'll get additional bits of gear that come their way. It's designed to, as Matt described, provide you with the tools to produce any type of science fiction game. And it's a setting neutral set of gear, from slug weapons to laser weapons to scientific gear, spacesuits and battle armor, and all kinds of the types of things in between. And then we have High Guard, which is our starship design system. There is a basic design system in the core rulebook, which is enough to produce any ship your Travelers are likely to use. But then if you want to go deeper, High Guard provides you with an immense amount of additional detail, including the ability to produce enormous capital ships that would fight space wars to conquer worlds and that sort of thing.
Amazing. And as you mentioned it, because it's such a kind of a toolkit type game, almost in a way, like it gives you the tools to make whatever you like. There's a huge world of different beasts and creatures that we can encounter. So I don't know, Matthew, do you have any particular favorites or particular creatures or beings that you've created in this universe you'd like to share?
No, there's such a wide span of them. I mean, you can get it covers everything from little swarms of parasites right up to gigantic whale-sized creatures plying the oceans. But the key for me was always we made it very, very easy to create these creatures, to the point that if a referee's running a game and he suddenly finds I need these a herd of angry herbivores to start bothering the players. If it's nothing written in the scenario, if he's just brought it off the top of his head, he can just look down at his notepad for all of 5 or 10 seconds and create the creature on the fly. And that's something we've kept all the way through, rather than having some sort of advanced generation or grading system for the animals. No, they've got very simple stats. Assign them a handful of traits, and boom, you're ready to go.
I mean, yeah, that sounds ideal. I think a lot of people that are looking to start running games or be a referee sometimes can be a bit intimidated by, how do I do that? So with Traveller, do you have any kind of guidance for referees running the game on how they should approach encounters, or maybe even planning a campaign?
Yeah, have fun with it. I mean, the core rules, we always set up our games to have very, very simple core rules. I mean, the essence of Traveller is roll 2d6, add modifiers, try and get 8 or more, and that covers 90% of your interactions with the rules as far as players are concerned. Sorry, I just got distracted there.
No, that's fine. Just saying recommendations for people running the game.
Yeah, I mean, the key is don't sweat it. I mean, the Traveller is a sort of game where it's very tempting to try and have rules for everything, but at the same time, it was very deliberately designed to be constructed from a series of mini games. So Chris was talking about character creation. That's a mini game right there. You have another one for exploring new star systems, another one for trading, for example, another one for patrons to give you adventures. If you don't like any of those subsystems, though, you can just cut them out of your game, and the rest of the structure will still hold, because it doesn't all build on one another. It is linked, but you can purposefully remove components and it still holds. Give one quick example. In space combat in Traveller often takes place at vast ranges, like tens of thousands of kilometers, and it's more like submarine warfare rather than Star Wars. But if ships get close, you can have your starfighters all buzzing around, and we have dogfight rules for those. However, a Traveller purist might say, well, I don't want the Star Wars dogfights, in which case you can just ignore those 3 paragraphs in the space combat section, and the game still holds together. You can just apply the normal rules, whatever range you're fighting at. So the upshot is, don't try to learn all the rules, or don't try to use all the rules. Dive into the bits you and your players find interesting, and don't get caught up with the rest.
Yeah, I think that's some great advice. Chris, I don't know if you have anything to add to that. Any other, if somebody was saying, look, I'm new to running games, I want to try running Traveller, how do I approach this?
Yeah, it's designed to be focused on the narrative. That's why it's 2d6. Super simple. It's simulationist enough to approach reality. Combat can be very deadly, especially if you're not armored for it and armed. But generally speaking, it's designed to keep you in the role playing. The space combat is super streamlined so that you can run a space combat session with your ships fighting each other and then get right back to the story. We want people to have fun, and it's all the tools are provided for you to do that. If I were to give advice to someone who wanted to try Traveller out, just don't be intimidated by all the mini games. They're designed to add to, not detract from your experience. You can just show up with 2 dice, make some characters, and start playing with the tools that the game provides you without getting involved in any of the crunchier subsystems. They're there to add on should you desire that greater level of detail.
Fantastic. And we have mentioned that the system is great for building your own world. So if people have their own ideas for stories to run, then that, great. But I know you do also have a huge amount of support for campaigns and pre-written kind of scenarios that people can run if they prefer that style of telling stories. So Chris, I don't know if you could tell us a bit more about the Singularity, which is the new shiny thing.
Yeah, it's the campaign that I wrote, and it's big and epic, and it breaks the travel universe potentially, or challenges you to examine your themes like identity and technology, and explores sort of a potentially epic narrative that you can become involved in. However, its first chapter is about running a luxury liner in space. You could almost just take that first chapter or the first book of the series and run with that for as long as you wanted. It's designed with enough depth, I think, to kind of make that a campaign. We ran a really successful Kickstarter. We're in the process of getting these books ready for release, and we're pretty excited about it.
Fantastic. That sounds great. So how long, I mean, as you said, it's really big. I see there's Act 1 and there's Acts 2 and 3. How long is this kind of designed to be for a campaign sort of play?
I mean, it depends on the play style of the referee who runs it and the group, but I would imagine it would take 1 to 2 years. Probably if you wanted to get into it. It is modular, so if you want to do parts of it, it would be less of an investment. But and it's, again, it introduces all kinds of new things that you can use in whatever type of, or in a campaign that focuses on liners or technology. You've got components within the campaign that you can use regardless of whether or not you want to invest the time in an epic narrative.
Perfect. That sounds very exciting. So it's great that the system supports, all the different styles of play that you could possibly want to have. I mean, Matthew, at the beginning, you did mention that Traveller is now at home with you at Mongoose. It's now fully sitting with you. What sort of plans do you have for the future of Traveller?
Many of them. I mean, we've literally got a list of books that the book ideas that go on the list, because we simply think, hey, this will be a really cool thing to do. We ought to do this at some point in time. Other books get structured because we want to do this cool thing, but before we get there, we've got to release books A, B, and C to support that. I mean, in the longer term, the two things we're looking at is taking the Traveller core system and applying it not just to different settings but to different games. So for example, we've got working on 2 at the moment. Chris is working on one of them, I'm doing the other. Pioneer, which is a game about exploring the solar system in the next 10 to 30 years, so it's very close to our current real timeline. And the idea there is you'll be the first to set foot on Mars, the first to set up a moon base. That it uses the Traveller rules, but because it's a different game, we can twist and bend and mold the rules without trying to shoehorn it into something that's existing. The one I'm working on is a new edition of the old Dark Conspiracy game that Game Designers Workshop released in the 90s. Uses the Traveller core rules, but it's very, very horror. It's going to be a scary game.
Space horror, I think those two things go very well together. So
it's not actually space horror. Again, it's set in our current world. It's more modern era. Nasty things have started appearing around the world, and the players won't know it at the time, but they're actually defenders of humanity.
Would you say it combines the X-Files and Stranger Things? Would those be? Well,
it's not a bad starting point. We've written it so there's you can approach it in a variety of different ways. You can approach it as if it's X-Files. You can do X-Files with guns. You can do the super special ops military unit that's dedicated to hunting nasties down. But we've also made sure you could do Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it's been pointed out to me it is actually possible to do the Scooby Gang with it. I can't imagine why you'd want to, but it's possible. Yeah, players can take their own approach to things.
Absolutely. Great. Well, that sounds fantastic. I'm excited to see all the things that come out in the future. Obviously, Travel is such a big product line, has such a big legacy. It's really good to hear that it's safe with good stewards of the game who are passionate about it and love it as much as the fans do. So it's great speaking to you about the game. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much.
Before you leave, though, I do have one final question I ask everyone, and it's if you have any recommendations for any other tabletop games. And the rules are it can't be one you make at Mongoose, and it can't be Dungeons and Dragons.
For me, I'll give a shout out to Cubicle 7. We are currently, as often as we can, playing through the Enemy Within campaign for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay.
I'm playing that right now too.
Yeah. How far have you got?
We're really close to the end.
We're just completing Shadows over Bogenhafen.
Oh, right. Yes.
I played this campaign under the first edition rules back when I was at school. I was like 14 or 15 or something. So Cubicle 7 re-released the campaign. I've been picking them up and we're giving it a whirl.
Fab. That's great. I'm also enjoying that adventure as well. It's very I'm not sure how the ending goes because I haven't played through it before, but we're very close to the end. I can feel it and it's not feeling safe. But Chris, how about you?
So I saw that recently that the original Deadlands has been re-released. I played that back in the 90s and I think it's just an absolutely terrific game. It's the Old West, but it adds in steampunk and some other things. It uses playing cards and poker chips to get that Western feel to it. I recommend people try it if they can get a hold of it, especially since they're reprinting the original.
Fantastic. There's two great recommendations. Oh,
and if I may, Matt mentioned Pioneer. Just real quick, our Kickstarter goes live on October 30th. To support Pioneer, and I would be remiss if I did not mention that before the end of our talk.
Yes, that is good to mention that there. And if we get maybe do you have a link for a pre-launch page? We can put that in the show notes when that's up and ready, so people can click through to find that.
Terrific.
Hope all that goes well next month. Great to hear from you both. Thank you so much again for coming on, and thanks to everyone that's watched and listened. I hope you've enjoyed learning more about different sci-fi tabletop role-playing games. But for now, we'll say thank you and goodbye. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.